Thanks for joining us today. We've been trying to make this happen for ages. If you've never been to Liberty Church, we want to say a massive hello and welcome. And today is just a glimpse into the life here at Liberty. So we're going to head over to our band as we hear our first song for today called See a Victory.
When the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. My God will never fail. Oh, my God will never fail. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. And I'm not backing down from any giant, 'cause I know how this story ends. Yes, I know how this story ends. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good.
Well, I would like to say hey and hello to everyone who's at home. I'll give a wave to the camera. This is slightly weird doing church like this. We've got a small team of people here in the room that I'm going to be giving this message to, but it's for you at home as well. So we're just going to roll with it today. So I'm going to do a 2-week message that we're going to be calling Battles. Yeah, 2 weeks. We're going to be here for 2 weeks. No, a 2-weeker, just 10 minutes or so, but a series called Battles. And so I want you to stick around for the next 10 minutes, especially either if you're a regular churchgoer, you come to Liberty Church regularly, or you've never been to church before and you've just been watching Liberty Lockdown and this is your first experience of us doing any of our service stuff. It doesn't matter. Everyone in the world can relate to this topic of going through battles in life. And so I think sometimes we don't choose our battles. And I think COVID's been an amazing example of that, because it just arrived on our doorstep and we just had to get on with it. And some people in here, in this room, and people at home have probably not felt like it was a battle. Maybe it was a great time for you in terms of readjusting to life and finding quiet time and all that sort of stuff. But for other people, it's been a huge battle and there was no choice about it. It just arrived on our doorstep. And we had to battle our way through it. There was no choice, just get on and battle it. But other times in our life, we have a choice. And sometimes, just sometimes, we choose to not enter into a battle that we should, because the battle just looks too big to even entertain. It's just too big to even get on top of. And that could be anything in this world, from a relationship problem, a work thing, or a work problem, a problem with your boss, a dead-end career, a habit or an addiction, or, problem with your weight, or health, mental health, depression, anxiety, whatever it is, whether it's financial difficulties, that's a battle that you're just burying your head in the sand from. Whatever it is, sometimes we refuse to go to battle. The battle just seems too scary. And so I want to ask us all today, for people in this room and for myself, but for you at home, is what battle are you not fighting that you should be? What battle are you not fighting that you should be? Or perhaps the song that we sung earlier, Sea of Victory, puts it better. And it has this line in it, what about backing down from giants, not backing down from giants? And so I want to ask you, what giant are you backing down from? What giant are you backing down from? And there's this famous Bible story about David and Goliath, and we all know it. And if you've never been to church before, and this is your first experience of even anything to do with church, you've probably heard of David and Goliath. And the story sees the Israelites and the Philistines just facing off. And no one's fighting. They're just one group over here, one group over there. And each day the Philistines sent out their biggest, baddest dude to stand in front of the Israel army and say, who wants some? And back then, and what would happen is people would sometimes send out their best warrior, and another army would send out their best and just do one-on-one fighting. And it's just whoever won, winner takes all, rather than thousands of men dying and going to battle. And so this is what was sort of happening that day. And each day this guy would come out and shout at the Israelites and saying, who wants some? And everyone in the Israel army was terrified. Absolutely everyone was terrified of this dude, because it was a giant of a man. He was huge. You read and see how tall he was. He was just a massive, massive dude. And I'm quite a big dude, and I would look tiny compared to this fella. But this dude, Goliath, came out for 40 days. And you know the story. He came out for 40 days dissing the Israelites, just coming out, just dissing them in their face. Quite funny. But every single one of the Israelites backed down from the giant. Everyone refused to fight the giant, even the king. Even the king. And one day this little cheese delivery boy arrived. I think he was just a Just Eat delivery driver. And he caught this giant dude yelling and challenging everyone. And he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing the words of David here, he was like, who does he think he is? Someone, in the words of people in Thetford probably, someone needs to knock him out. And so David stepped up. He said, I'll have a go. I'll do him. I'll smash him. I'll fight bears and lions. I'm well hard. He was obviously a Thetford boy. And it says in 1 Samuel 17, I'll go from verse 42, reading 42 to 46. It says, 42 to 46, sorry. He says this, verse 42, he, talking about Goliath, looked David over and saw that he was little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, must be from Thetford, and he despised him. He said to David, Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? Because David had a stick in his hand and he had some other bits in his pockets. And it says this, and the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Come here, he said, and I'll give you the flesh I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals. David said to the Philistine, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. It says this, that this day the Lord will deliver you into my hands. I will strike you down and I will cut off your head. Mate, is what he said. And you jump down to verse 48. It says this, as the Philistine moved closer to attack him. Check this out. It says, David ran quickly toward the battle line. He ran quickly toward the battle line. He wasn't scared of this giant. He wasn't backing down from any giant. He actually ran toward the battle, toward the giant to meet him, it says. Verse 49 says, reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead and he fell face down on the ground. You jump to verse 51. It says, David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword, which was huge, by the way, and he drew it from the sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. He cut off his head with his own sword. You see, David refused to back down from the giant that stood before him. And so I want to ask you, I want to ask people in this room, I want to ask myself, I want to ask you watching at home, what giant are you backing down from? I've got a story from my rugby life. Don't worry, it's not from when I broke my leg. But when I was playing rugby league at university, and everyone in this room would have heard the story before, but I was playing and I arrived late to the game. I think I was on teaching practice or something. I arrived late to the game and I was on the bench. And there was this dude, I think we were playing Northampton, and there was this dude on the other side, and he was massive. He wasn't just like 6'5" or 6'6", but he was big as well, just muscular, really big, strong dude. And he was smashing through everyone, and we had quite a small team, actually. He was smashing through everyone, and everyone on the pitch was avoiding him. And he was scoring tries because no one wanted to tackle him. No one wanted to take him down. And if you know me, you know what I would have been like on the sideline. I was flipping out, like, someone tackle him! Someone smash him. And so the captain heard me getting a bit, energetic about it, let's put it that way. And I think he said, even sarcastically, go on then, like you have a go. And so I was subbed on, and I immediately went onto the field with my slingshot and my stones. And I ignored every other player. I wasn't bothered about any other player. That was my job. I was going to take down that dude. You see, I didn't want to get tied up on battling other things that didn't matter. And we're going to look at that next week. I didn't want to get tied up battling other things that didn't matter and miss the giant that needed taking down. And we so often do that in our lives, battle things that we don't need to battle and not the giant we're supposed to. And so this guy got the ball and he started running toward me. I'd lined him up in the defensive line, and he came running, boom, 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 fee, fi, fo, fum. He was, all right, he wasn't that big. I felt a bit like Jack and the Beanstalk Jack, but he came to me in the defensive line, and I hit the guy as hard as I could, and it was a legal tackle. I want to add that. It was a legal tackle. There was nothing wrong with it, but I hit him as hard as I could, and he hit the ground, and the crowd cheered, and our players cheered. It was like we won the league. It was ridiculous. Everyone was like, yeah, and I was a bit like, yeah, inside, not on my face. I didn't want to show people I was happy about it. And so then he was on the ground. I took his sword, cut his head off. But from that point, no player avoided this giant. No one, just from that point, it was like, he's tackleable, if that's a word. No player avoided this giant, and he didn't break the line again. He was no longer a giant to anyone on the pitch. And sometimes when you beat your giant, when you battle your giant, others around you will be able to battle theirs too. And you see, some of you are thinking, all right, big Ed Phil made one tackle. It was one tackle in a game. I was done for the rest of the game. But this example paints me in a giant slaying light, which is, great for reinforcing my point. However, I want to be real. So often in my life, I've backed down from my giants. I've backed down from the things that I know I should be battling. I haven't entered into the battle when I know I should have. And that's across my history with many, many things. One of them being battles with my weight. When I was younger, perhaps battles with alcohol and battles with my weaknesses, or even battles with individuals that I knew I should have had. And too often I've not entered a battle that I know I should have. And I think back now and I think, why not? And it was probably fear of failing. Or the way I like to see it, because I'm positive, fear of not succeeding. That sounds better, doesn't it? Fear of not succeeding, not battling a giant because I think I'm not able to win. I'm not able to beat him. That's why the Israelites were terrified. It wasn't because he's just a big dude. It's because they thought they were going to die. They thought they were going to lose the battle. And so we avoid things that we need to deal with in our life because we're scared of getting hurt. We're scared of not being able to achieve it or win it or beat it or battle it or slay that giant or not succeeding. But what I've learned and what I know now is when we enter the battles that we're supposed to, when we enter the battles and fight for the things that we're supposed to, we see victory. The battles that God is calling you to fight in your life, you will win. I want to say that again. The battles that God's calling you to fight in your life, you will win. I love that line in the song that says, every war he wages, he will win. You know, that's why you don't have to back down from any giant. It's because you know how the story ends. You know how the story ends. And so I want to ask you as I finish this very short message, what giant are you backing down from? Because maybe it's time to step up, grab your slingshot, and run toward that giant. And we'll pick this up next week in part 2 of Battles.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed our first ever Liberty Online. Please be sure to subscribe or follow us on Facebook or on YouTube. And if you want to get in touch, then please head over to our website, which is libertycentre.org.uk. We will be back here next week at 10:45 a.m. Do not miss out. We've got more music and the second instalment of the Battle series. We can't wait until we can all meet together again, especially if you've never been to Liberty before. As soon as we can meet, we will let you know. So have a great week. We love you guys. See you soon.